Hi folks, I just wanted to post this video to clarify some of the information around the Brian Flynn interview that I'll be doing on Tuesday, because I've had a couple of folks reach out to me asking me some questions that at least make me feel as though I could have communicated better what exactly is happening. So if you remember back in December, I think it was December, when I did the interview with Kyle Wadaga, I had done the interview prior to the date that you saw it. I did all the editing. I had it scheduled to do a premiere, and the premiere was live in the sense that you could all watch it together in real time. You could comment. I was in the comments here and there to address questions and things like that. But this interview with Brian will be different in the sense that on Tuesday, if you are a channel member, category 2 or 3, you will be in the recording booth with Brian and I as we are chatting. So that's the key distinction here. So I've had a few folks ask me like, "Oh, I hope you asked him this. I hope you asked him that." I haven't asked him anything yet because the conversation hasn't actually happened yet. So yeah, I wanted to go about it a little bit differently this time to reward the folks that support me and as a channel member, who are willing to pay the $3 Canadian or like 225 US a month, because it really helps me. It really does help me. And so I'm allowing folks that are channel members to be in the room as it's happening. If they're not able to attend live, they'll have access to the raw recording of that conversation, and then I'll be taking that recording, and similar to the Kyle Wadaga interview, I'll be editing it, having visuals, cleaning it up basically for release the following week. So the actual conversation will happen live on the 26th. I would say tentatively expect the edited version on April 4th, just to give myself some breathing room with everything that's going on. So I hope that clarifies when and what kind of access people are having to this interview. Now, I did want to take a couple of minutes just to talk a little bit about what you might expect from this interview with Brian. I don't think it's like the rarest opinion in the world that Super 7's products are not for everyone, and I think that that's totally fine. But in every interview I see published with Brian Flynn, sometimes with other people, but mostly with Brian Flynn, surely, like without fail, there are comments like, "Oh, you should have asked him this. You should have called him on his crap." All this nonsense, man. My role as the person that has reached out to Brian, that has initiated and requested him to come out onto this channel, my job is not to be the personification of a rude Instagram comment. What I'm trying to do here is to ask questions that provide insight on what it is like to work on the brand and what it is like to make decisions as to what kind of products you make and which characters you decide to make for those products. And the last thing I'm going to do is create a disrespectful relationship with a toy company whose product that I fundamentally enjoy. This is going to come as a shock to a lot of people, but I am Super 7's primary customer of their Toho stuff. Like, what? That's not to say that there aren't valid questions that could be asked of companies like Super 7. But the thing is that they've been so transparent and open to having these conversations with the community that I think that a lot of the questions that folks might be looking for answers to, they're already out there, and a lot of them have been covered on this channel. If you've been wondering about things like price point or beam effects, I've done videos on those subjects, and I'm confident enough in my knowledge of those topics that I'm perfectly happy to have those videos be the answer to those questions. I don't need to ask Brian anything. The question around articulated jaws or like a ball jointed torso, I got a chance to ask Kyle Wadaga during our interview about those things, and we got answers to say that, yeah, Godzilla was supposed to have a ball joint torso, but something happened in the factory communications, and that articulated jaws were being prototyped internally, but we don't know where those will end up, so no promises. And that came about because I was voicing not only the community's, let's say, distaste for some of the choices, but also my own. I was able to voice them in a polite and constructive manner, and Kyle and I were able to have a productive conversation about it, mostly because I wasn't a dick about it. Going into this interview, I don't plan to ask questions that I already have answers to. I've done videos, I've done my research into some of these topics. The things are out there. If you watch my channel, hopefully you've seen this content. If you haven't, then, leave a comment with some of your questions and I can point you to where you might be able to find answers. So while I won't be asking about, ball jointed torsos or articulated jaws, there are some really valid questions around company decisions. There was one user, I think their username was JC, something like that, who, not in the nicest way, was asking why was the minus color version limited to 1,500 units? It sold out really, really quickly, and it seems like there's more demand for it, so why not create more stock? Not to spoil anything regarding the interview, but I feel like that's a really good question to ask. And if you think that minus color sold out really, really quickly, I would also love to hear more about this guy. If you think that minus color selling out in 13 hours is bad, this guy sold out when he hit Super 7's website in like 7 hours, something like that. So I would love to hear, are the doors to these exclusives closed, or could we see them come back in a different shape or form down the line? Don't you think it would be cool if they did Dark Horse Godzilla, but with like an all new body mold where it's better torso articulation, better tail articulation? I think that would be pretty cool. And I think that that would be a much better question to ask than like, why are you making Heisei Ultimates? Mostly because that question has been answered like 3 or 4 times at this point, not because it's a bad question. So with that being said, this interview will be focused on Super 7's handling of the Toho license. It's not going to be, why isn't your product more like Monster Arts or Hiya Toys? It's not going to be anything like that. This is going to be for the people like me who enjoy what Super 7 does and want to learn more about the process. If it's not for you, no hard feelings at all. Just don't waste both of our times by writing rude comments that I'm going to end up deleting. So that's it. I hope to see you on Tuesday live if you are a channel member, and for the rest of you, I will let you know when I have an estimated upload date as soon as possible. So enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'll talk to you again soon.